Islam all too human. Item number 12. This is Aben al-Hurriya, son of freedom. Strategy of this series: to show the mere human origin of Islam. This is meant to erode Islam's political power in the world. This is meant to cause defections from Islam. This is meant to promote peace, since it will reduce Islam's credibility in its efforts to wage jihad, kinetic and civilizational. The main source of this presentation is from William J. Federer's book, What Every American Needs to Know About the Quran. Other sources on the internet were consulted for historical details. Barbary Pirates and the Young United States, item number 12. Barbary Corsair pirates were a menace in the Atlantic and the Mediterranean from about 1530 to 1830. The pirates originated from Algiers, Morocco, Tunis, and Tripoli. European nations were forced to pay tribute, which is in effect a form of jizya, from Quran 9.29. The young United States was covered by the tribute of Britain until 1783, and then for a short period under France's tribute. But finally, the Barbary Pirates decided they could get more money by charging the U.S. Treasury separately. At one point, the Barbary Pirates extorted 20% of the U.S. federal budget. When, in 1784, Barbary Pirates captured the USS schooner Maria, they paraded the crew on the streets of Algiers. They called their captives infidels and threw them into prison. So we can see that part of the justification for hostage-taking was religious. During 1785, Muslim pirates originating from Algiers captured 2 more vessels and their crews. At this time, the Islamic barbarian nations sponsoring the pirates demanded a total of $1.3 million in dollars of that time. While Thomas Jefferson is ambassador to France, he asked Tripoli Ambassador Abdrahman what the U.S. had done to provoke Muslims to attack U.S. merchant ships. Ambassador Abdrahman gave the answer as reported to the U.S. Congress by Jefferson and John Quincy Adams, quote, "It was founded on the laws of the Prophet, that it was written in their Quran, that all nations who should not have acknowledged their Islam's authority were sinners, that it was their right and duty to make war upon them wherever they could be found, and to make slaves of all they could take as prisoners, and every Mussulman who should be slain in battle was sure to go to paradise," end quote. Does this sound familiar? In 1793, Muslim Barbary pirates captured the U.S. cargo ship Polly. The crew was imprisoned. Said the pirate captain, justifying his action, quote, "For your history and superstition in believing in a man who was crucified by the Jews and disregarding the true doctrine of God's last and greatest prophet, Muhammad," end quote. In 1795, when the Muslim Barbary pirates captured 115 American sailors, the U.S. government was forced to pay about $1 million in ransom in dollars of that day. When Thomas Jefferson became president of the U.S., the Corsairs demanded $225,000 plus an additional jizya of $25,000 per year. Jefferson refused, and the Pasha of Tripoli declared war. Thus began the First Barbary War, 1801 to 1805, which is the first U.S. war after independence. So notice that the first war that the United States, the young United States, had to fight was against jihadis. Sound familiar? This was followed later by the Second Barbary War of 1815. Barbary pirates commonly boarded unarmed ships while themselves armed, seizing the ship and cargo and taking the crew captive for ransom. Thomas Jefferson, when president, dispatched U.S. warships to escort U.S. merchant ships for their protection. One of these warships was the USS Philadelphia. On December 29, 1803, the Philadelphia had the misfortune of running aground. Captain William Bainbridge and his 307-man crew were imprisoned for 18 months. The U.S. paid $60,000 in that day's currency, plus 89 Muslim prisoners. Only 296 sailors were freed. Of the other 11, 6 had died in prison, and 5 more had converted to Islam. The high official in Tripoli offered the 5 remaining now professing Muslim sailors the option of remaining in Tripoli as Muslims or returning to the United States. One of the sailors chose to stay in Tripoli. When the other 4 answered that they wanted to return to the U.S., the official ordered them taken away. Aghast, they were taken away and never seen again. This was just taqiyya at work. This is consistent with Sahih Bukhari 9.57, where Muhammad says, quote, "Whoever changes his Islamic religion, kill him," end quote. When the U.S. Marines fought the pirates shipboard, they wore leather straps around their necks to prevent the pirates from beheading them with their swords. This comes from Quran 47.4, where it says, quote, "When you meet the infidel in the battlefield, strike off their head," end quote. This is the original meaning of the term leather neck. Question: how do the Barbary Pirates show the mere humanity of Islam? Answer 1. We have testimony cited above justifying the piracy from Islamic doctrine. Answer 2. American merchant ships and military sailors were imprisoned in Barbary prisons and held for ransom. The use of ransom to, quote, "benefit Islam," unquote, is fully sanctioned in Quran 47.4. Piracy is a heinous crime, a capital crime under some jurisdictions, especially if sailors are taken captive. It also becomes kidnapping for ransom. There can be no justification, theological or otherwise, for piracy in the high seas. Yet Barbary pirates commonly justified their actions from the Quran and the Hadith. The Barbary states acted as fences by providing prisons to hold the captives and providing a base of operations for the pirates. No doubt the Barbary states supported, directly or indirectly, the piracy of the Barbary pirates. So, in other words, the Barbary pirates weren't simply lone wolves or violent extremists, as the current narrative goes. If Allah, acting as the God of the universe, sanctioned piracy on the high seas, including pillage, murder, and kidnapping for ransom, then Allah, as the creator of the universe, is a monster. It is a more adequate hypothesis to suppose that there is no God or God who sanctions piracy on the high seas. Rather, anyone who claims God's authority to conduct piracy is a liar. This makes Muhammad a liar. Insofar as the Quran and the Hadith sanction plunder and hostage-taking, they show their merely human origin and should be disobeyed. Islam, all too human. This was item number 12. This is Abin al-Hurriya, son of freedom.